I auditioned to try to get into the School of Music. So I went to this, it was like this really cool building. They have a special building for the School of Music there. It kind of looks like a castle. And I went there with my acoustic guitar and met with like the head of the music guy and auditioned, you know, and played my guitar and talked to this guy. And because I didn't know how to read music, the professor, he's like, I'm sorry, I can't let you into this, you know, this School of Music. You know, you'd just be too far behind because you can't read music. And, and so I was, you know, trying my hardest to convince this guy to let me get in. And he was like, yeah, there's just no way. And so, you know, to be a lesson to anybody out there, if you want something really bad and somebody tells you no, you can't do it, you know, just pass them up, you know, just say, hey, look, go to the next person. Just keep going to the next person until you find the person that believes in you, you know, and says, yeah, you know, we'll have you as part of this program, or we'll let you play a show here. It's kind of like booking for the band too. When we play shows, you know, it's not always easy to get shows at places. You got to kind of write these people and call them on the phone, and you get a lot of no's. And you just got to keep going to the next person until you get a yes. And there's always somebody out there that will see, you know, see the talent in you, see the creativity in you, the positivity in you, and they'll believe in you and they'll say yes. And you know, in life in general, that's kind of the people I try to surround myself with, try to find those type of people and, you know, grow those types of relationships. But so anyways, I kept playing guitar. I played in my dorm room a lot. My friends, you know, I had my amp and stuff. Hey guys, I had my amp in there in this little dorm room, and I'd play, you know, every day. My roommates were really nice about letting me do that. And then I met some guys in college, you know, that played as well. So we'd jam out together, and that was a lot of fun. We played, I think, 1 or 2 shows with that band. Nothing too serious. But I just kept at it, you know, knew it's what I wanted to do. At some point, I had seen a band called Fish. I don't know if any of you have heard of the band Fish. Yeah, one person. They're kind of an underground band. They're not really that mainstream. They're not really that popular. You want to ask a question? I can't hear you. Did you say something? No, okay, cool. So I had seen this band Fish, and they're a jam band, which is like a band that, you know, they play these songs and then they do a lot of improvisation. Are these questions?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Do you want to wait, or you want to take them now? Or they might be relevant to what I'm talking about. I don't know. Anyhow, okay. So I saw this band Fish. They're a jam band where they play songs and then they improvise a lot in between kind of the songs. There's like a big section where it's all improvisation. And what improvisation is just the musicians playing kind of what they feel, what they hear. There's no set structure. Like when you go see an orchestra, I don't know if you've ever seen an orchestra play, most of that stuff is all written out to a T, to where there's no, you know, it all is written out. You play it exactly the same way every time. And then there's some, you know, bands where they will have stuff that's written out and then they'll improvise of a section where it's not written, and it's just kind of anything goes. It's like, you know, free for all. And you just kind of play what you feel, you listen to each other, and you play off of each other. Anyways, that's what Fish is like. They're this big improvisational band, a jam band. And I saw them, I think it was in like 96. Yes, quite a while ago. And it blew my mind how good they were. I saw them at Alpine Valley, which is also it's in Wisconsin, close to Chicago, Illinois. It blew my mind how music could do such a thing, how you could, you know, just be so open but so connected, so to speak. And so I just fell head over heels in love with this band, Fish. And I wound up, you know, following them around on tour, seeing their shows and seeing their concerts. And I was like, that's how I want to play guitar. You know, I want to be able to sound like that someday. And, you know, be careful what you choose as your goals, because, you know, they can happen. So, you know, be really careful for what you want to create. I saw this show. I watched this show, True Detective, on HBO, which has been one of my favorite shows. Yeah. And there's a character in there named Rusk, who's like this really philosophical guy. And he has this saying, he says in one of the episodes, he says, be careful what you get good at, because, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years of your life will go by and you'll do this thing. And it might not always be what you love to do. So, be careful, choose wisely what you want to do with your life, and choose wisely what you get good at. I've learned over the, what was that? Were your parents something? Yeah, if you held that up, I can read it. You just got to hold it up for a second longer. Name all the instruments you play, and if you could play any instruments, what would it be if I could play any? Okay, so good question. Great question. I play the guitar as my first instrument, and then I play piano, and then I have a drum set in my jam room here, which I mess around on a little bit. So I can play the bass. So I can play all those 4 instruments. I would consider myself really good at guitar, okay at piano, not so good at drums, and okay at bass. But the guitar is mainly what I play. I also sing as well. And looking back on it, and I took some piano lessons even like a few years ago because I love the piano. I think it's the prettiest sounding instrument, and I wish I'd learned more of that. I wish I was better at piano. I'm still semi-young, so maybe that will happen at some point. But yeah, so that's mainly the instruments I play. Were your parents on board with what you wanted to do? If not, how did you get past it? Okay, yeah, so that's another great thing. Luckily, I was raised with a very loving family. My parents are still married after, I think, almost 50 years now, or 45 years, I think it's been. And they were always super supportive, which I'm so blessed to have had that. So lucky. I have an older brother and an older sister, and they've always just kind of let us do what we wanted. They would kind of push us into sports and stuff when we were kids, but if we didn't enjoy it, they didn't make us keep doing it. And I remember I was on the soccer team, and my team was not very good, and I was like in maybe 2nd grade or something, and I was like, just stop going to practice. And my dad was like, do you want to quit? And I was like, yeah, I just don't really enjoy it. And he's like, that's fine. He's like, but you can't just blow it off. You got to go to the coach. Let's go to the coach and tell him, you don't want to do this anymore. So he knows, and you can say it for yourself. Remember, I had to do that at a young age and go to the coach and be like, yeah, I'm not really into this. And that was tough, but it was a great learning experience, and awesome of my parents to let me kind of do what I wanted to do. Anyhow, they always believed in me. I think they knew I had a gift for music at an early age, and so I was kind of excelling at it, and so I think they were on board with it. And yeah, they backed me up. They supported me the whole way through, thankfully. But I do know, that it's tough. I mean, I think it's tough for parents probably to to be okay with that stuff. Anyhow, yeah, so I was lucky with them. And I remember my dad had taught me early on too. I wanted to be a professional basketball player very early on. That was my big love. I did that up until I was a sophomore. I played high school basketball, and I'm short. I'm 5'11". I'm skinny, and it's like, unless I was incredibly amazing, there's probably a good chance I wouldn't succeed at that. And I did get cut my junior year from the basketball team, and that was pretty heartbreaking. But I also saw this other movie. I forget what it's called. I think it's called The Gambler, where there's Mark Wahlberg. I don't know if you know who Mark Wahlberg is. Marky Mark. He's like the lead character in it, and he's a professor in that movie, and he talks about how it's very important and it's very helpful if you can find out what you're genius at. Like, there's genius in all of us, and we excel at certain things, like a little thing, small thing, way more than most people. And if you can figure that out, that you just naturally gravitate to and that you're naturally just really good at, you know, it can help you kind of succeed at that. And he talks about how, you know, people, it's this class where these people are trying to be writers, and he says, you know, there's only a few people in here, he's a professor, that, you know, have the gift, and like the rest of the people should just kind of give up on it. And it's kind of like a harsh reality. But if you do know what you're really good at, you know, push that. It's kind of tough. In 7th grade, it's hard for me to even kind of relate, to remember back then. I don't think I knew what was going on in 7th grade. I just knew I loved my friends. Hanging out with my friends was super fun. I loved basketball. You know, school's important. I can't remember really being too engaged. I always did well in school. I knew it was important to do well. You know, whatever you put your time at, you know, try to do the best at it. You got another question, I guess? Or, when you get really good, how do you tame your ego? Are you for real? You guys know what the ego is? That's pretty impressive. I think I didn't even learn about the ego until like high school. But that's a great question. Who wrote that question? Somebody back there. All right. Yeah, great. Awesome question. So what the ego is kind of, it's this imaginary thing, I guess. There's a philosopher that kind of came up with it, I think, many eons ago, and it's kind of your character. It's kind of the person inside your head, sort of doing the speaking. I don't know if any of you guys kind of have inside dialect with yourselves. I know it's kind of a weird thing to think about, but you know, it's always there. There's always kind of this voice kind of talking to us and telling us, you know, what to do. And it's same as kind of like when you're thinking, you're engaging your ego. And so early on in my career, I had heard, you know, hey, don't get a big ego, don't get a big head about your, you know, talent or your playing. And I went through this period where I was trying to, so to speak, kill my ego, which, you know, you may see stickers that say that, kill your ego or let go of your ego. And, you know, I don't think that was really a healthy thing. And I had, you know, later on heard a guy talk about how, you know, you are, you know, your ego is you. It's kind of like your self-awareness, so to speak. And you can use it to be helpful or hurtful. And so his big thing was like, you know, actually be kind to your ego, you know, inflate your ego, you know, like love your ego. And yeah, I can't believe we're talking about this, but so I've learned to love my ego, and I try to, you know, I try to stay humble and grounded, but you know, I try to love myself as much as possible. That's such a weird thing to say, but it's so true. Like love and, you know, kindness and compassion for yourself. It's very, very helpful, very important in this life. You know, it's love, I think, really helps make things grow. And, you know, we all make mistakes. We all have, you know, issues and concerns and stuff. And I've made my fair share of them. And, you know, I try to learn from them and, you know, let them go. And so with the ego, it's kind of the same thing. When I'm playing music, it's kind of like meditation. I try to let go to where I'm not really thinking. I pick one point out. I'll stare at one point, and I'll just try to lose myself. And, you know, in deep meditation, they say that's kind of where you really do lose your ego. You become aware of everything, and your thoughts kind of cease to exist. And so with music, that's kind of what I aim for, is to just kind of let it come through me. Let it, you know, I practice all the time so that when I perform, I don't have to think about it. It just kind of comes through me. And so that's kind of letting go of the ego. But, you know, if somebody ever says to you, like, you have a big ego, like, take that as a good thing, I would say. Yeah. So anyways, back to my story. I went to Illinois State, and then I transferred after 2 years there. I went to Colorado State in Fort Collins, Colorado. I'm a huge fan of Colorado. I love it out there. And yeah. And so that is where I formed kind of my first professional band. It was called Moving Matter. It's where I met two of my really good friends out there. And we started a band out there, and we started playing a lot in Colorado. We started touring the country, and we got, not big, like just kind of, selling to like 100 to 200 people, sometimes 300 people. And we were really into it, and we did that for like 4 years in Colorado. And then we decided we wanted to move to a bigger market, a bigger music city. So we picked Austin, and we moved to Austin. Yeah, in 2003, just the three of us as a band. We moved here not knowing anyone, and that was a really tough transition. That was a tough transition. But we moved here, and we started playing here, and kept touring across the country, and it was really tough. We had a couple of tours where we really didn't make any money, and we fought a lot. And so we got back to Austin, and we were like, man, we got to take a break from this. All of us were kind of burnt out on it, so we took a break. And that it was kind of at that point where I was just like, man, I'm going to just start playing with anybody I can. So I started playing with all these different bands in Austin, and then one thing led to another. More doors started opening up. A friend of mine and me started a Fish tribute band, and that was about 4 years ago. And the Fish tribute band kind of took off, pretty well. It made some money, and a lot of people came out, and we started touring with that. And a lot of people would come out to see us, and so it just kind of slowly blossomed to where I was making enough money doing that. I was also playing in another tribute band, a Talking Heads tribute band. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of the Talking Heads. And between those two bands, and I was teaching guitar lessons at the time, it was kind of enough money for me to quit my day job, which I used to sell sunglasses for a living. And like, it was, I didn't really enjoy it too much. It was just kind of a means to make money. And, as I've gotten older, I wish I would kind of pushed harder to try to make more money in music, so I wouldn't have had to kind of work some of the jobs that I did. I delivered pizzas for a while up in Colorado. I delivered flowers. I did all sorts of odd jobs. And it took a long time to kind of get to where I was self-sustaining playing music, and that was about 3 years ago. So it hasn't been that long, and I'm 37 now. So it took me quite a while. And had I known what I know now back then, I probably could have been doing this stuff a lot earlier and making money at it. There's ways to do it and learning the industry, and it took a long time. But I kept at it. I knew like this is what I wanted to do. I knew my day would somehow come, and it's finally kind of getting there. And the biggest part is really you've got to believe in yourself. That's so important. If you don't believe in yourself, you can't expect anyone else to. So it's like it starts with you, man. Just believe in yourself wholeheartedly, 100%. Don't doubt it. Whatever you choose to do, just go for it. If you're like, I'm going to do this, I can do this. And if it at any point, it becomes where you don't enjoy it anymore, then choose something else. But if it's something you love and you find joy in it, work hard at it. Okay, another question. How do you find people who are interested in the same kind of thing as you? Yeah, that's another huge element. That's a tough one. Because there's really only one person you can control in this lifetime, and that's you. Like, you are 100% responsible for what you do and what you choose to do, but you can't make those choices for other people. So that was a hard thing. I remember my girlfriend at the time, back in like early college, she's like, you got to get a band going, and I was like, I know it'll come together. I just couldn't find the right guys, but I always knew it would come together. And it just kind of takes time, and you kind of come across people that are like-minded and have the same interests and like the same type of music, and it just kind of pieces together. And I think, I'm a really big believer in positive thinking. It's really helpful. It's helpful to put you in places to meet those type of people that are like-minded. So I just kind of believed it would happen, and sure enough, the first band, the one in Colorado, it was weird when I moved there. It just kind of happened pretty quickly. The drummer and I were good friends from when we grew up, and he got in trouble at his school in Southern Illinois, Carbondale, Illinois. So he had to move out to Colorado, and he went to Colorado State. He hit me up, and he's a great drummer, and it just kind of happened quickly. And then this guy who lived in the same apartment complex, we heard him playing bass, and we walked over like, hey man, and he turned out to be the bass player. And then this other friend introduced us to the keyboard player, and it just kind of magically lines up that way. It's kind of like, it's positive thinking. It's kind of like that thing where, I don't know if any of you have noticed this, but if you pick out one car, it's for people when they're buying cars, and you pick out a car that you want to buy, you'll start noticing that car all over the place. So as a lesson to you guys, just pick out one certain car, like I don't know, Ford Camaro, or well, I mean Ford Mustang, or like a Chevy Camaro, or one of your favorite cars. Pick one of them out, and then notice you'll start seeing that car all over the place. And it's kind of like, it's already within you. You know, it's in your mind that, you know, if you want something, you can really do it. You can really unlock it. You can achieve it. But, you know, you got to work hard at it. That's one thing. I remember this one. Does this guy have a question? No, I'm just saying that. I remember one of my favorite musicians. He in an interview, they said, so what's your, you know, biggest piece of advice for young musicians trying to make it? And he said, hard work. You know, hard work, tons of hard work, and lots of it. You know, even he's made it. He's playing to thousands of people, and he still works incredibly hard at it. So it's like most of these things, like pro athletes, anybody you see in the professional realm, like they work really hard at it. Your teacher here, Michelle, you know, she puts endless hours just to teach you guys. It might not seem like it because it comes so naturally and effortlessly, but it takes lots of hard work to be professional at anything. So just put in the hours. Do you have another question? What is your favorite part about being a musician? What was your proudest moment on stage? So my favorite part about being a musician is playing live for people. We just played in Dallas on Saturday, and we hadn't played a show for, I think, a few weeks, because it's the holidays and it's kind of a slow time for playing out live right now. But I forget that feeling I get when I play in front of people and they're mutually connected. They're kind of right there in the front row, and they're, you know, simultaneously kind of engaged in the music, and it's this kind of symbiotic relationship between the band and the audience where, you know, you're part of something bigger than yourself. You're kind of this one consciousness, this group of, you know, 100 or so people, and you're kind of all connected on the same wavelength. And that feeling, it's a tough feeling to match. That's probably my favorite moments as a musician. There was a second part to that question, I think. I already forgot what it was. What was it? What is your favorite part of being a musician? And then something else. Huh? Oh, proudest moment. Yeah. So that's always changing. I'm a big believer in living in the moment, you know, just every moment. There's some amazing things going on right now. I can, you know, open my window and look outside, and there's these amazing trees. You guys have this awesome classroom with these cool stuff painted on the wall. There's like a tree back there with stars on it. And, anyways, I'm always mesmerized by, you know, just things. Every show I feel like is my proudest moment. Saturday, I remember this past Saturday in Dallas, there was one moment where this really artistic fan had brought clothespins to the show. You know, like the little wooden clothespins. I should have gotten one. A bunch of our fans took them. There was a bunch of them, and he had written like these cool things on each clothespin. One of them said "a live one" on the front of it, and he had clipped it to my microphone stand. It's like a metal microphone stand. He clipped it to the front of it. And that was a proud moment because it's really cool when fans, you know, they're so inspired by your band and your music that they want to interact with it, and they do stuff creatively on their end to make it more of a, you know, joyful experience. So that was a really proud moment. I do remember this one too, playing for, I don't know if you heard of the band Little Feat. They were sort of big back in the day. We got to open up for them up in Colorado, and my whole family was there. My parents and my brother was there, and they were way up front, and it was sold out. There was like, I think 700 people there, and I remember playing for them at that show. That was a really proud moment. So, will you sing a song for us? What is your favorite color? Yes, I'll play a tune for you. Yeah, we only have 5 minutes left, so I'll play the song for you guys. But my favorite color is green. I'm wearing this green shirt. It's got this blimp on it. This is my friend's design company. They're called Airship Designs. They make websites and they make really cool posters. The other great thing about being a musician is like you meet all these other super creative people. It's awesome. There's like so many creative people in the music industry, and I love art, you know. I love it. So let me play this song. We only have 5 minutes left. Grab my trustworthy guitar here. Yeah, put this back here a little bit. Yeah. All right. This song is called Back on the Train. Play it for you guys here. Thanks for listening. When I jumped off, I held a bucket full of thoughts. When I first jumped off, I held that bucket in my hand. Ideas that would take me all around the world. I stood and watched smoke behind the mountain curl. It took me a long time to get back on the train. I'm gone and I'll never look back again. I'm gone and I'll never look back at all. I'll never look back again. I turned my face into the howling wind. It took me a long time to get back on the train. See my face in a town that's flashing by. See me standing at the station in the rain. See me running there beside the car. I left it all behind me cause I traveled far. It took me a long time to get back on the train. When I jumped off, I held a bucket full of thoughts. When I first jumped off, I had that bucket in my hand. Ideas that would take me all around the world. I stood and watched smoke behind the mountain curl. It took me a long time to get back on the train. It took me a long time to get back on the train. It took me a long time to get back on the train. When I jumped off, I held a bucket full of thoughts. When I first jumped off, I held that bucket in my hand. Ideas that would take me all around the world. I stood and watched smoke behind the mountain curl. It took me a long time to get back on the train. Yeah, man. Thank you guys so much, man. It was a pleasure to talk to you again. You guys have a great day. Thank you, guys. Much love. Right on. Bye. So does the bell ring and then they're just out of there? Cool. Awesome. Thanks for having me, Michelle. Later, buddy. See you guys. Peace. See you guys. Have a great day. Thanks for listening. Yeah, you can send me questions. I'll answer them. Type them out for them. Write them out. Yeah, cool. That went by a lot quicker than I thought, huh? That went by really quick. Huh. That's awesome. Awesome, yeah, you're welcome. We'll do it again maybe in a year or something. Next class.